Howdy, I'm Jacob and you're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Now, I've been talking a lot lately about really the stuff that this channel's always been about. NWO agendas, grifters, wolves in sheep's clothing, and the enemies of patriotism. However, the way that this channel has been organized and motivated has always been tailored towards what you could potentially be doing and or buying to prepare for what they are bringing to your doorstep. And that's often been focused primarily on knives, because you can get gun information anywhere and you can get political stuff anywhere, but the number of people who give practical opinions on knives I felt was very lacking, and knives are one of the most important tools that could potentially be in your arsenal. It's the foundational tool and the tool that makes other tools. So today we're going to talk about the Bear Forest Knives Simple. Excellent little belt knife, and they come with a fantastic Kydex sheath. Real quick before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about knife theology. We have a lot of people in today's day and age selling you a lot of stuff. They want you to think that you need all kinds of gadgets and whiz-bang funkery all over your blade to be tactical AF. I'm here to tell you that you don't. You see, the people who are best with knives have always used simple knives. If you went back and you looked at a Viking, let's say even one who'd killed a few folks with his knife of choice, what he typically used his knife of choice for probably involved preparing and eating his food. That's what a knife should be good at. First and foremost is the simple daily tasks that you'll use a knife for, which usually include preparing your food and making fires. And it doesn't matter if you're a Viking hundreds of years ago or a soldier in Afghanistan today. At the end of the day, what you're going to use your knife for is simple things. And today we're here to talk about simple things, and specifically, again, the Bear Forest Knives Simple. The other thing I want to bring up is I know a couple of guys who practice Filipino martial arts, and I've talked to them about a couple designs and stuff like that. And we also talk a little bit about knife fighting, and I'll link it up here. Guys who really know. And when I mention guards and certain other things to them, they're like, I mean, does it have an edge? Because at the end of the day, what's going to matter in a knife fight is you. And if me and you fight, and I'm holding this ultimately simple belt knife, and you're holding the most whiz-bang killing machine on the planet, or something that's marketed as such, I'd almost guarantee you that the knife is not going to be the determining factor that leads to the outcome. So, what we've got here is the Bear Forest Knives Simple. I haven't done an open boxing or initial impressions video on this knife. I've meant to for a really long time, and at this point I've used this knife for long enough that we're going to go ahead and do a full review. I absolutely love the blade. We've got an 1/8 inch stock, 4-inch handle, and you know what, before I talk about the specs, let me grab my notebook just so I don't screw it up, because I already found myself getting ready to say about. Yeah, okay, 4-inch blade, 4-inch handle, 8 inches overall, 1/8 inch thick. Mine weighs 4.3 ounces. This is actually a custom that I commissioned him to do with some special peach wood that was sent to me by a subscriber and supporter who has become very special to me in this channel. These knives will come in 50-100. Sabre grinds are scheduled to come by the end of the year, and this is what I consider to be a custom production knife, and what I define that as is a knife that is made by hand but on a production scale with set models. So it's not a custom knife where I was like, here's a picture of a knife that I want you to make. And it's not a custom knife like he said, here's a one-off knife that I just made that I'm selling. I call it custom production because it's one model of one model that he offers, and he does make them custom. All right, so we got a bunch of stuff to get out of the way there. I also want to mention, all right, so we're talking about, this channel is talking about some very heavy subjects and topics, right? And what I want to tell you is that your knife should be simple and of exceptional quality first, and you need to learn how to use your knife, believe it or not. Especially when it comes to fire prep, but even food prep. You make something like this little feather stick here. This is a very useful little thing, and it does take a bit of learning on how to utilize the edge of your knife. And to buy a good quality simple knife, you could go buy a Mora. And what I'm going to tell you is affordable knives are the most dangerous knives on the market because there's so many of them, and when you're trying to hit a price point, there's going to be a flood of products trying to hit that price point to get the person who doesn't know any better to buy them. So if you're going to buy a really cheap knife, buy a Mora. And once you know how you're using your knife, once you are specialized, then buy a specialized knife, but you'll probably come back to the simple knife anyways. Now, I do recommend, however, buying yourself a premium quality simple knife, and that's what we're talking about here. This is a handmade high carbon steel piece of gear that I'll be passing down to grandkids after ridiculous amounts of use. And so the reality is, what I've been using this knife for so much, food prep and fire prep, is probably what this knife will always be used for. And if I ever find myself in a defensive situation where I am down to using a knife, I'm going to tell you that it's not going to matter what's going to be in my hand. Therefore, whether I am literally going into combat or I'm going into the woods on an adventure, the first thing that I'm going to look at is practicality for the things I'm actually going to do, and that is simply where this knife absolutely excels. So in the description box below, I'm going to have his website. Again, it's Bear Forest Knives. He makes all of these knives. He does an excellent job, and every single model that he makes is incredibly practical. And again, that's really what you're looking for, simplicity and practicality. As far as the simple model itself, it is a wonderful lightweight option to have on you at all times. There's not many tasks that I don't see myself using this knife for. You know, it's not a chopper, it's a cutter, and that's what a knife should do first, is cut. I have no concerns about edge holding. It's held a great edge. It's brought a great edge on the strap back very easily. And it's been tough enough for everything that I've needed to use it for. Now, when I do a long-term review on this knife, and let me tell you, I've already used this knife more than most knife review channels when they do their full review. I promise you. So, when I do a long-term review, we'll have done more batoning and a little bit more abusive stuff, and it will have gone through a lot more over the span of its life. It will probably have been loaned out to many different people, which is actually the hardest. The most abusive thing that you can do to a knife is not batoning. It's letting your buddy borrow the knife every single time, I promise you. And that will happen. But we'll talk about how it's held up when we get to that point. It'll be a year more down the road. But what I have to say right now is I have absolutely no concerns about this knife holding up. None whatsoever. I have no concerns about recommending you to purchase this knife because I know that you will be happy with it and it won't fail you. If it were to fail you, the owner would take care of you. This is a small American company, and so what you're getting right now, these in the Scandi grind, these are hitting about $100 mark. You're basically getting a handmade high quality knife, not this freaking, what's the word for it? Bespoke. Not this bespoke aesthetic bullcrap that everybody's putting into a box to sell you, and they call it bespoke because they know what colors are trendy and they use them. An actual American-made, hard-use, simple tool that you'll be proud of. And I actually, like I said, this is custom wood on here. I'm going to send this, I believe, to my buddy Michael Spaniers at Spirit of the Bear to do some custom art on the handle. I should do it myself, right? But he's really good at it, and I like his work, so I'm going to have him do it. And we'll see how that looks when it happens. If you like knives, guns, and pictures, make sure to follow me on Instagram at the Preppers Bunker Outdoors. It's not nearly as successful a social media as my YouTube is here, and yet I think in many ways it's more valuable because you get constant updates on products with pictures. You can constantly see what I'm using and how it goes. You can interact with me much more easily, and I freaking like pictures, so I like Instagram. They're evil just like YouTube is. On that note, in the description box below also will be a link to my Odyssey. Please consider subscribing to me on Odyssey, and let's make a doggone exodus from this crappy YouTube platform over to Odyssey, get some more content on there so that we can all enjoy it even more. Reckon that's all I got, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We've got some adventures coming up. I think in just a couple weeks I'm going up to Ohio. We're going to get a little bit wild out in some national forest up there, and it'll be fairly knife heavy, and I think I'll even take the motorcycle and make a motorcycle adventure out of it. So it'll be rough, it'll be uncomfortable, and Lord willing, it'll be entertaining. Again, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in the comment section below.